We're about to dive into the story of a mind so brilliant, she literally had to invent a man just to be heard. This is the incredible tale of Sophie Germain, a mathematician who took on the entire scientific establishment of 19th century Paris and won, even when they refused to let her in the door.
So, let me ask you a question. Imagine you're a professor at the most prestigious university in all of Paris. A student you've never, ever seen starts handing in work that is just mind-blowing. It's next level. But what if you found out that student wasn't real?
Okay, so our story kicks off in post-revolutionary France at the brand new École Polytechnique. This place was the absolute epicenter of scientific thought, but it had one very, very strict rule: no women allowed. Period.
All of a sudden, these papers start showing up on the desk of one of Europe's greatest mathematicians, Joseph Louis Lagrange. They're from a student named Monsieur Le Blanc. Now, here's the strange part. Lagrange knew the actual M. Le Blanc, and, well, he wasn't exactly a star student, but these new papers, they were revolutionary.
Lagrange himself was just blown away. He called the solutions marvelously ingenious. He was so impressed, he just had to meet this guy. He demanded a face-to-face meeting with this sudden genius. He needed to know who was behind this incredible work.
So who was this ghost haunting the halls of the academy? Well, the truth is way more amazing than the mystery itself. Lagrange was about to find out that Monsieur Le Blanc was not at all who he seemed. When the student finally showed up, Lagrange was just speechless, because Monsieur Le Blanc was a woman. Her name was Sophie Germain. She'd been using the identity of a real former student just to get her work in the door, to get it seen without all the prejudice that came with being a female scientist.
So how did she get to this point? Well, she was born into a rich family and was basically supposed to get married and run a household. But then, when she was 13, the French Revolution trapped her inside her home. So what does she do? She disappeared into her father's massive library. By 1795, she created her brilliant disguise to sneak into the world of the all-male École Polytechnique.
And the hurdles she had to overcome were just unbelievable. Her own family was horrified by her passion for math. It wasn't ladylike. They tried to stop her by taking away the fire from her room, taking her candles, even her warm clothes. They hoped the freezing cold would just force her to give up, but she didn't. She studied by candlelight she smuggled in, wrapped in quilts, while the ink literally froze in its bottle.
What could possibly drive someone to go through all of that? For her, it was the legend of Archimedes. She read the story of the great mathematician who was so lost in a geometry problem that he didn't even notice Roman soldiers storming his city. And she thought, wow, any subject that could inspire that kind of focus has to be the most fascinating thing in the entire world. So her identity was out, but her work? It was just getting started. Armed with her male pseudonym and now the grudging respect of the big names in science, she started tackling some of the biggest unsolved problems in both math and physics.
One of her most lasting contributions is a concept that now carries her name, the Sophie Germain prime. It's such an elegant idea. You take a prime number, let's call it p, if you multiply it by 2, add 1, and that new number is also a prime, boom, you found yourself a Sophie Germain prime.
So why should you care about some abstract math concept from the 1800s? Well, because Sophie Germain primes are actually a crucial building block for the technology that keeps our digital lives safe. Their unique structure makes them perfect for creating something called safe primes, which are used in the encryption that protects everything from your bank account to your DMs.
Her ideas were so groundbreaking, they caught the eye of the prince of mathematicians himself, Carl Friedrich Gauss. And when he finally found out his brilliant pen pal, M. Le Blanc, was a woman, he wasn't upset. He was amazed. He praised her for having the courage and genius to overcome all the barriers society threw at her. And she didn't just stop with pure math. She then pivoted to a huge public challenge in physics. It was all about explaining this beautiful, almost magical phenomenon. See, if you cover a metal plate with sand and then vibrate it with a violin bow, the sand arranges itself into these stunning, intricate geometric patterns. And at the time, nobody knew why. So the Paris Academy of Sciences offered a huge prize to anyone who could come up with a mathematical theory to predict these patterns. For Sophie, this wasn't just about the prize money. This was her chance to finally earn a formal, official seat at the table.
And this really shows the constant struggle of her entire life, doesn't it?
She was a brilliant strategist, using a man's name to get a foot in the door, going after a public prize to force them to acknowledge her. And she did it. She won the prize, the first woman ever. But it didn't change the rules. She was still shut out, still barred from ever becoming an official member of the Academy.
Now, I want you to remember this number, 72. It might seem random, but it's the key to the most powerful and, frankly, painful symbol of her lifelong exclusion. Okay, so when the Eiffel Tower was built, they inscribed the names of 72 great French scientists and engineers into its base as a tribute. 72 brilliant minds. So whose name do you think was missing?
Yep, Sophie Germain. Her prize-winning work on the theory of elasticity laid the mathematical foundation that made building a metal structure that tall even possible. And yet, when it came time to honor the people who built modern France, her name was just erased.
But history, it isn't always written in permanent ink. The story doesn't end with her being ignored. Over time, the world has slowly started to correct this massive injustice, rewriting her name back into the history that she helped create.
Today, the very city that once shut her out now celebrates her. There's a Rue Sophie Germain, a street named for her. There's a school, L'École Sophie Germain. And in the worlds of math and engineering, her legacy is set in stone. Her primes are fundamental. Her equations are still used.
And here is the ultimate twist, the perfect final chapter. That same institution that refused to let her in, the French Academy of Sciences, today, it awards a prestigious annual prize in mathematics. And its name? The Prix Sophie Germain, the ultimate recognition.
Sophie Germain had to fight every single step of the way to get into the history books. But her story leaves us with this one big nagging question. How many others weren't so lucky? How many other brilliant minds have been lost to time simply because the system was designed to keep them out?